The bottle of Rioja shattered against the tiled kitchen floor like a gunshot in the dead of night. Red wine pooling around Chloe's bare feet as she stumbled backward, her heart slamming against her ribs. "I love you, Kennedy. God, I've always loved you and I can't pretend anymore," slurred the woman on the couch, her voice cracking like thunder over the Guadalquivir, eyes glassy from too many shots at the office holiday bash. In that split second, the cozy apartment in Seville's Triana neighborhood, once a sanctuary of shared sunsets and whispered secrets, transformed into a battlefield of unspoken truths, where one confession could unravel the fragile threads holding their lives together. Chloe froze, the cool shards nicking her heel, a sharp sting that paled against the ache blooming in her chest. Kennedy, her roommate of 2 years, the brilliant graphic designer with the infectious laugh and the habit of leaving half-read novels everywhere, was sprawled there like a discarded sketch, hair a wild halo of auburn waves, freckles stark against flushed cheeks, her green eyes locking onto Chloe's with a desperation that felt like drowning. They'd come to Spain on a whim, two American dreamers fleeing the grind of New York for flamenco rhythms and endless tapas. But this was no siesta escape. This was the moment their carefully curated friendship teetered on the edge of something irrevocable. What? Chloe whispered, her voice barely audible over the distant strum of a guitar from the street below. She was 30, a marketing exec with curves that turned heads in the narrow alleys and a smile that hid the loneliness of expat life. Her black hair still smelling faintly of the jasmine from the office party's floral centerpieces. Kennedy, 28 and fierce as the summer heat, had always been the spark, the one who dragged her to midnight markets, who baked lopsided empanadas on rainy Sundays. But love? That word hung in the air like smoke from a Cho vendor's cart, thick and impossible to ignore. Kennedy laughed, a bitter, broken sound that echoed off the whitewashed walls. "Don't make me say it again, Chloe. It's been eating me alive. Every time you bring home one of those charming Spaniards, every time you smile at me like I'm just your safe harbor, I die a little." She sat up, swaying, her slim frame clad in the rumpled black dress from the party, the one that hugged her athletic build just enough to make Chloe's pulse quicken without her ever admitting why. The room spun for both of them now, the remnants of sangria on the coffee table, the faded photo of them grinning atop a Seville cathedral spire, arms slung around each other in innocent camaraderie. Chloe's mind raced back to the party at the American Chamber of Commerce rooftop, overlooking the glowing Giralda Tower. Laughter had flowed as freely as the cava, colleagues toasting to another year of bridging U.S. business with Andalusian flair. She'd danced with Javier, the suave account manager with the easy grin, his hand warm on her waist during a tipsy salsa. Kennedy had been there too, radiant in her element, sketching caricatures of the boss on napkins, her wit cutting through the small talk like a matador's blade. But Chloe had noticed the glances, Kennedy's eyes lingering too long, her jokes laced with an undercurrent Chloe had chalked up to holiday cheer. Now, in the harsh light of their living room lamp, the truth clawed its way out. Chloe stepped over the wine puddle, ignoring the sticky warmth seeping into the cracks of the terracotta floor, and knelt beside the couch. "Ken, you're drunk. We both are. Let's just sleep it off. Tomorrow we'll laugh about this over churros." But even as she said it, her hand trembled as she brushed a strand of hair from Kennedy's forehead, the touch electric, forbidden. Kennedy caught her wrist, grip firm but gentle, her green eyes searching Chloe's brown ones like they held the map to salvation. "No more laughing it off. I've watched you date men who don't see you, the real you, the one who cries at stray cats and quotes Maya Angelou at 3 a.m. I see you, Chloe. And it terrifies me because what if you don't see me the same way?" The vulnerability stripped her bare. No more the confident artist who'd convinced them to pack up their lives for this sun-drenched gamble. Seville had been their reset button. Chloe escaping a toxic ex back in Brooklyn, Kennedy running from a family that never quite understood her fire. Together they'd built a rhythm. Morning jogs along the river, evenings debating U.S. politics over gazpacho, weekends lost in the Alcazar's labyrinthine gardens. Chloe's throat tightened. She'd felt it too, the pull, the way Kennedy's laugh lit up the dimmest tapas bar, how their silences were comfortable, not awkward. But labeling it? That meant risking everything. The lease on this quirky apartment with its creaky wooden beams and balcony view of flamenco dancers, the jobs that kept them afloat in euros, the illusion of normalcy in a city that whispered romance in every arched doorway. "I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice a hush. You're my best friend. My rock. If this blows up. It already has, Kennedy murmured, releasing her wrist but not her gaze. The clock on the wall ticked like a heartbeat, marking the seconds until dawn crept over the rooftops. Outside, a vendor's cart rattled by, the scent of fresh oranges mingling with the wine's tang. Chloe helped her to her feet, their bodies brushing in the narrow space, shoulder to hip, a spark that neither acknowledged aloud. They stumbled to Kennedy's room, the door clicking shut like a seal on a secret. As Chloe collapsed into her own bed across the hall, the sheets cool against her skin, sleep evaded her. The confession replayed in loops. Love, always loved you. Seville's magic had always felt like a borrowed dream, but now it cracked open, revealing the raw underbelly of human longing. Little did she know the real storm was just brewing, not from the drunken words, but from the shadows of betrayal lurking in the light of day. The morning sun sliced through the slatted shutters like an accusation, painting golden bars across Chloe's rumpled bed. Her head throbbed, a souvenir from the cava and the chaos, and as she padded to the kitchen, broom in hand to sweep up the previous night's mess, she found Kennedy already there, nursing a café con leche at the scarred wooden table. No trace of last night's vulnerability. Instead, Kennedy's face was a mask of forced normalcy, her auburn hair tied back in a messy ponytail, green eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses pilfered from Chloe's drawer. Morning sunshine, Kennedy quipped, her voice brighter than the Guadalquivir at noon, though it cracked at the edges. She slid a plate of half-burnt toast across the table, butter glistening like unshed tears. Figured we could use some carbs after. You know. Chloe paused, broom bristles whispering against the tiles. The wine stain was gone, scrubbed away in the wee hours, but the echo of those words lingered, staining everything. She wanted to dive in to unpack the confession like a suitcase of forgotten dreams, but the fear of losing this, of upending their fragile equilibrium, clamped her jaw shut. Yeah, thanks. She sat, picking at the toast, the silence stretching taut as a guitar string. They'd met 3 years ago in a cramped Brooklyn co-working space. Two strangers bonded over mutual disdain for the fluorescent-lit grind. Chloe, fresh off a breakup that left her questioning her worth, had been pitching ad campaigns for a boutique firm. Kennedy, sketching logos that breathed life into stale brands. A spilled latte led to laughter, then late-night brainstorming sessions in dingy diners, and eventually the wild idea. Why not Spain? Seville's got that old-world soul, perfect for reinvention. Their families thought them mad, Chloe's conservative Midwestern parents fretting over that phase, Kennedy's artsy but distant clan in California barely noticing. But together, they'd thrived, or so Chloe had believed. Work pulled them back into rhythm that week. The office, a sleek glass-fronted space in the Barrio Santa Cruz, buzzed with the hybrid energy of expats and locals. Americans barking orders over Zoom, Spaniards infusing meetings with paella-fueled passion. Chloe buried herself in client decks, her curves hidden under power blazers, her warm brown eyes focused on spreadsheets that promised promotions. Kennedy, ever the free spirit, lost herself in design software, her athletic frame hunched over her MacBook, fingers flying like they could redraw reality. But the glances multiplied. Across the conference table during a pitch for a U.S. tourism board. Sell Seville's heart, not just its history. The boss droned, Kennedy's foot brushed Chloe's under the table, a fleeting touch that sent heat racing up her calf. At lunch in the plaza, amid the coo of pigeons and the sizzle of street churros, Kennedy's jokes landed softer, laced with a tenderness that made Chloe's stomach flip. You okay? Chloe asked one afternoon, catching Kennedy staring out the window at the cathedral's spire piercing the azure sky. Kennedy shrugged, sunglasses slipping down her nose to reveal those piercing green eyes. Just thinking about home. Miss the chaos sometimes. But it was a lie and they both knew it. Home was here now in the stolen moments. Racing bikes along the river at sunset, Kennedy's laughter trailing like a comet, sharing a bottle of vermouth on the balcony, heads bent close over a shared journal where they'd scribbled dreams. Chloe's for a corner office, Kennedy's for a gallery show. By Friday, the tension simmered to a boil. Javier cornered Chloe after a team huddle, his dark eyes twinkling under the office fluorescence. Dinner tonight? There's a new spot in Triana, candlelit, with views of the flamenco houses. He was charming, uncomplicated. a far cry from the emotional minefield Kennedy had unearthed. Chloe hesitated, glancing at Kennedy across the room, who was packing her bag with deliberate slowness, jaw set like stone. "Sure," Chloe said finally, forcing a smile. "Sounds perfect." But as she watched Kennedy's shoulders slump, a pang twisted in her gut. Guilt? Regret? Or the dawning realization that her heart had been rewriting its own story all along. That evening, as Chloe dressed in a flowing sundress the color of Seville's oranges, Kennedy lounged on the couch, flipping through a dog-eared copy of The Sun Also Rises. "Hot date?" she asked, voice neutral, but her fingers gripped the pages too tight. Chloe nodded, applying lipstick in the hall mirror, her reflection a stranger. Curvy silhouette softened by silk, black hair cascading in waves. "Javier. You know, the guy from accounts." Kennedy's laugh was sharp like shattered glass. "Yeah, I know. The one who thinks Olay is a personality trait." She stood, crossing to the kitchen for a glass of water, her slim jeans hugging legs toned from endless runs. The air crackled, unspoken words piling like storm clouds over the Sierra Morena. "Ken, about the other night," Chloe started, but Kennedy cut her off with a raised hand. "Don't. Please. Go have fun. You deserve uncomplicated." The words landed like a slap, and Chloe's chest tightened. She wanted to argue, to say that uncomplicated felt like sand slipping through fingers, but the door clicked shut behind her, leaving Kennedy alone with the ghosts of what-ifs. Dinner was a blur of paella and polite banter, Javier's stories of Madrid bullfights washing over her like white noise. But her mind wandered back to the apartment, to Kennedy's green eyes brimming with unspoken pleas. When her phone buzzed, a text from Kennedy: "Be safe. Miss you already." Chloe's resolve cracked. She excused herself early, hailing a cab through the labyrinthine streets, the city's pulse matching her own frantic beat. Back home the lights were dim, the balcony door ajar to let in the night's jasmine breeze. Kennedy sat there, sketchpad in lap, charcoal smudges on her freckled cheeks. "Back so soon?" she asked, not looking up, but her voice trembled. Chloe leaned against the railing, the city sprawling below like a tapestry of light and shadow. "Couldn't stop thinking about you." The admission hung there, simple and seismic. Kennedy's pencil stilled, and slowly, she met Chloe's gaze, raw, unguarded. In that moment, under the stars that felt closer in Seville than anywhere else, the first threads of something deeper began to weave. But betrayal, that sly serpent, coiled in the shadows, waiting to strike. The weeks blurred into a tentative dance, the confession evolving from drunken haze to a quiet undercurrent that colored every interaction. Chloe canceled plans with Javier, citing work overload. But really, it was the way Kennedy's presence filled the apartment like sunlight through stained glass, warm, inescapable. They'd cook together now more often. Chloe chopping onions for salmorejo while Kennedy stirred the pot, their hips bumping in the tiny kitchen, laughter bubbling up to chase away the awkwardness. "Pass the cumin, Picasso," Chloe teased one evening, and Kennedy's grin lit the room, green eyes sparkling like the river at twilight. Yet doubt gnawed at Chloe. Was this real, or just the rebound of isolation in a foreign land? Seville enchanted, yes, the flamenco cries echoing from Triana's bars, the scent of orange blossoms perfuming the air. But it also amplified vulnerabilities. Her parents' weekly calls from Ohio dripped with concern. "When are you coming home, sweetie? That roommate of yours, Kennedy, right? She's not influencing you, is she?" The implication stung, rooted in the small-town homophobia Chloe had fled. Her own queerness a whisper she'd never voiced aloud. Kennedy, too, carried scars. Over late-night vermouth on the balcony, she'd open up in fragments. A high school crush on her best friend, rebuffed with cruel silence. Art school flings that fizzled under familial pressure. "My dad's a lawyer. He wanted stable, not sketches of women in love." Her voice would soften then, hand brushing Chloe's as she passed the bottle, a touch that lingered like a promise. Chloe felt it building, the pull toward confession of her own, the admission that Javier's charm had been a shield against this very truth. The office party loomed as the holiday crescendo, a lavish affair at a converted hacienda on the city's outskirts, where the American chamber spared no expense. Twinkling lights strung like stars, tables groaning under jamon iberico and imported lobster rolls. Chloe arrived on Kennedy's arm, not as dates but close enough that colleagues raised eyebrows, whispering, "Those two?" Finally, Kennedy looked devastating in emerald silk that offset her auburn waves and athletic poise, while Chloe's red wrap dress hugged her curves, her black hair pinned with a jasmine flower plucked from their balcony. The night unfolded in ebullient chaos. Toasts to expansions in Madrid, dances under a canopy of lanterns where salsa merged with indie rock playlists. Chloe sipped cava, her warm brown eyes scanning the crowd, but always drifting back to Kennedy, twirling with a junior exec, her laughter a melody that tugged at Chloe's heart. "You're staring," Kennedy murmured later, sidling up with fresh drinks, her breath warm against Chloe's ear amid the throng. "I'm not," Chloe lied, cheeks flushing as she clinked glasses. But the alcohol loosened tongues, and soon they were on the terrace, the hacienda's fountains bubbling like secrets. "Remember our first night here?" Kennedy asked, leaning on the balustrade, the city lights twinkling below like fallen constellations. "We promised no regrets." Chloe nodded, the jasmine in her hair releasing its scent with the breeze. No regrets. But as a slow song drifted out, something soulful like Norah Jones, Kennedy extended a hand. "Dance with me." The world narrowed to the press of bodies, Kennedy's hand light on Chloe's waist, their steps sinking in the humid night. No words, just the rhythm of hearts aligning, foreheads nearly touching. It was there in that stolen waltz that Chloe felt the dam break. I think I feel it too. The love. It's been there, I just didn't name it." Kennedy's green eyes widened, shimmering with unshed tears. "Say it again. Sober this time." "I love you," Chloe whispered, the words a liberation tasting of freedom and fear. They kissed then, soft, tentative under the lantern's glow, Seville's magic sealing it like a vow. Colleagues hooped from afar, but in that bubble it was just them. Two women claiming what expat life had dared them to want. But joy's shadow is betrayal, and it slithered in unnoticed. Javier, nursing a drink at the bar, had seen it all. His easy conquest slipping away. Bitter, he cornered a gossip prone and turned the next day. "Chloe and Kennedy? Yeah, I heard there. You know. But wait till you hear about Kennedy's little secret." The rumor mill churned, fed by a kernel of truth Javier had unearthed weeks prior, during a team-building retreat. Kennedy's ex, a woman from Barcelona named Sophia, emailing about reconciliation, photos attached of happier times. By mid-January, the whispers reached HR. Fraternization concerns. The email read, anonymous but pointed, citing inappropriate office dynamics. Chloe's promotion stalled. Kennedy's designs were scrutinized under a microscope. Paranoia set in, stolen glances in meetings now felt exposed, lunches cut short by judgmental stares. "It's nothing," Kennedy insisted one rainy afternoon, as thunder rumbled over the Alcazar. But Chloe saw the toll. Kennedy's sketches growing darker, her runs longer, fleeing the apartment like it burned. The confrontation came on a stormy evening, the kind where Seville's skies wept for lovers lost. Chloe returned from a client lunch to find Kennedy pacing the living room, phone in hand, Sophia's messages open. "She wants to try again," Kennedy said, voice hollow. "Says I owe her that much." Chloe's world tilted. "Owe her? After everything we've..." But the hurt deepened when Kennedy confessed. "I didn't tell you because I was scared. Scared you'd think I wasn't all in." Betrayal, sharp as a Lorca verse, sliced through. Not just the omission but the doubt it sowed. Had Kennedy's love been a rebound too? Rain lashed the windows as Chloe stormed out into the downpour, the streets a blur of umbrellas and regret. She wandered to the Plaza de España, its tiled bridges arching like broken promises, collapsing onto a bench as sobs racked her. Hours later, soaked and shivering, she returned to find Kennedy waiting on the balcony, sketchpad abandoned. "I ended it with Sophia for good," she said, green eyes pleading. "But if you can't trust me..." Chloe's heart fractured. "It's not just trust. It's us exposed, judged. What if this city, this life chews us up?" The storm outside mirrored the one within, climax building to a roar. The rain hammered Seville like judgment from the heavens, turning the cobblestones into mirrors that reflected Chloe's fractured silhouette as she trudged back from the plaza. Her red dress clung like a second skin, olive tones chilled to pallor, black hair plastered in defeated waves. The betrayal stung deeper than the cold. Kennedy's secret emails from Sophia, a ghost from Barcelona who'd haunted their unspoken months, How many nights had Chloe lain awake, tracing the ceiling cracks, convincing herself their love was uncharted territory, only for it to be mapped by an ex's lingering shadow. She pushed open the apartment door, dripping onto the welcome mat they bought at a Triana market. Bienvenidas al Chaos, it read. A joke now turned prophecy. Kennedy was there, curled on the couch in an oversized sweater, her athletic frame diminished, auburn hair loose and wild, green eyes red-rimmed from tears or regret or both. The sketchpad lay open beside her. A half-finished drawing of two women entwined under a Seville sky, charcoal lines blurring like their boundaries. You're back, Kennedy breathed, rising like a supplicant, but Chloe held up a hand, the gesture weary. Don't. Just. Explain. Her voice cracked, echoing the thunder outside. She peeled off her sodden dress in the bathroom, emerging in sweats that swallowed her curves, the vulnerability of nakedness too raw for this reckoning. They faced off in the living room, the space between them vast as the Atlantic they'd crossed together. Kennedy sank back onto the couch, fingers twisting the sweater's hem. Sophia and I. It was before you. Before us. She reached out last fall right after we moved. Said she missed the fire. The way we painted Barcelona red. Her green eyes flicked up, pleading. I told her no, Chloe. Every time. But she kept writing poems, memories. It was flattering, stupid ego stuff. I should have blocked her, but I didn't want to seem weak. Weak. Chloe's laugh was bitter, tasting of rain and salt. She paced to the balcony door, pressing her forehead against the cool glass, watching rivulets trace paths like tears. You think hiding it makes you strong? We've built this, jogs at dawn, your burnt toast apologies, my bad Spanish butchered over tapas, and you let her ghost in because of flattery. The words poured out, years of suppressed longing surfacing. The Brooklyn days when Kennedy's sketches first captured her essence, not as a friend but as muse, the Seville sunsets where she'd almost confessed, chickening out for fear of shattering the safe harbor. Kennedy stood, closing the distance, her hand hovering near Chloe's shoulder. I was scared, okay? Scared that if I told you, you'd see me as damaged, some serial heartbreaker who can't commit. But you? You're my anchor. The one who sees through the sketches to the mess underneath. Her voice broke, freckles stark against flushed skin. I love you, Chloe. Not as a roommate, not as a safe bet. As the woman who'd burn it all down for one more dance under those hacienda lights. Chloe turned, brown eyes stormy. Then why does it feel like betrayal? Like I was the fool dating Javier to distract from what I knew deep down, that I wanted you, not him. The admission hung heavy, laced with the pain of office whispers, the stalled promotion that reeked of homophobia masked as policy. Seville with its romantic facades hid barbs, the landlady's side eye at their linked arms, the colleague's joking quip about roommate benefits. The argument escalated, voices rising over the gale. Accusations of secrecy clashing with defenses of fear. Love's purity tested in the crucible of doubt. If you can't forgive this, maybe we're just expat illusions. Kennedy hurled, the words a dagger, her slim frame trembling. Chloe recoiled, grabbing her coat. Illusions? That's what you think this is. She fled into the storm again, the door slamming like finality. The streets of Triana swallowed her. Flamenco guitars muted by rain, vendors hunkered under awnings. She ended up at their favorite bar, El Patio, its tiled courtyard empty save for the bartender Miguel, who poured her a sherry without question. Amor es tormenta, he said softly, love is a storm, his eyes kind, weathered by his own losses. Hours ticked by, the sherry warming her from within as she journaled on a napkin. What if love isn't possession but grace? Dawn crept in, gray and forgiving, and Chloe returned, key turning in the lock like a truce. Kennedy hadn't slept. Curled on the couch, sketchpad clutched like a shield. I thought you'd gone for good, she whispered, voice raw. Chloe knelt, taking her hand. Callous from pencils, warm despite the chill. I almost did. But running's what we left behind in New York. They talked then, truly. Kennedy deleting Sophia's number in front of her, promising transparency. Chloe admitting her own fears, the internalized voices questioning if this love was real or just circumstance. The storm outside ebbed, sun-piercing clouds like hope. But climax loomed larger than personal fractures. At work, the anonymous email escalated to a formal complaint. Javier's handiwork revealed when HR called a meeting. We've received concerns about a personal relationship impacting professionalism, the director said, eyes evasive. Kennedy, seated beside Chloe, gripped the table's edge, green eyes flashing defiance. If that's code for us being gay, say it plain. We're damn good at our jobs, better than the gossips. The room tensed, colleagues shifting uncomfortably. Chloe's heart pounded, but she squeezed Kennedy's knee under the table, a silent vow. We're a team, she added, voice steady. On and off the clock. If that's a problem, maybe this branch needs a diversity audit. The fallout rippled. Javier reassigned to Madrid, whispers quelled by a mandatory sensitivity seminar. But the exposure cracked their world, Chloe's parents calling in tears. Is this why you left? Some phase. Kennedy's family, distant as ever, sending a curt email. Proud but be careful. Seville's charm soured. Every arched doorway mocked their vulnerability. In the eye of the hurricane they clung tighter, nights mapping futures over maps of Spain. Dreams of a gallery in Granada or a marketing firm in Valencia. Love deepened, humanistic in its flaws. Forgiveness not erasure but growth. Yet the true peak crested when Kennedy's ex, Sophia, arrived unannounced. A whirlwind of Barcelona fire crashing into their fragile peace. Sophia swept into Seville like a sirocco wind, all sharp cheekbones and designer boots clicking against Triana's stones, her presence announced by a knock that rattled the apartment's fragile door one crisp February morning. Chloe answered, still in pajamas, her curvy frame soft from sleep, black hair tousled, expecting the postman with their latest care package from home. Instead, there stood a woman in her early 30s, lithe and poised, with sun-kissed skin and eyes like polished obsidian, clutching a leather satchel that screamed Catalan sophistication. Is Kennedy here? Sophia asked, her English accented with a melodic lilt, but her tone brooked no nonsense. Chloe's stomach dropped, the pieces slotting into betrayal's full mosaic. This was the ghost, materialized, demanding reckoning. Kennedy emerged from the kitchen, towel over her shoulder from drying dishes, her auburn waves damp from a shower, green eyes widening in shock. Sophia? What the hell? I've come to talk, Sophia interrupted, brushing past Chloe without a glance, her perfume, a sharp citrus, invading the space like an accusation. She dropped her satchel on the coffee table, photos spilling out. Polaroids of her and Kennedy in Barcelona's Gothic quarter, arms entwined, smiles radiant. You ghosted me, Ken. After 2 years. I deserve answers. Chloe hovered in the doorway, invisible yet seared by the scene. The woman she'd loved in silence, watching her past reclaim territory. I'll give you space, she muttered, grabbing her coat, but Kennedy's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. No. Stay. The plea was fierce, green eyes locking on brown, a lifeline in the tumult. Sophia's gaze flicked between them, sharpening as realization dawned. Ah, this is her, the roommate. The word dripped disdain and Chloe's cheeks burned. Sophia circled the room like a lawyer in court, gesturing to the shared novels on shelves, the paired mugs on the counter. How quaint. Playing house in Andalusia while you run from us. Kennedy stepped forward, athletic build taut as a bowstring. There is no us, Sophia. I told you that in every email you ignored. Her voice held steady, but Chloe saw the tremor. The old wounds reopening, Barcelona's ghosts whispering doubts. They'd rebuilt after the email scandal. Love forged in vulnerability. Whispered affirmations at dawn, Kennedy's sketches now portraits of Chloe alone, capturing her full lips curved in quiet joy, her olive skin aglow. Sophia laughed, a sound like breaking crystal. Lies. You loved me once fiercely. And now? This. American experiment. She waved at Chloe dismissively, the barb landing like a slap. Chloe's heart raced, the humanistic core of their bond tested. Was love resilient, or fragile as Seville's famed porcelain? Get out, Kennedy said, low and lethal, but Sophia pressed on, pulling a letter from her satchel, handwritten, Kennedy's script from happier days. You wrote this. You're my forever. What changed? The room spun for Chloe. Rain from last night's storm still puddling outside, mirroring the flood within. She saw it then, the conflict's apex. Not just exes but the betrayal of time itself, how love evolves, leaving casualties. Kennedy, Chloe whispered, voice small, brown eyes pleading for truth amid the wreckage. Kennedy turned, cupping Chloe's face, thumbs tracing freckles on her own hands, Wait, no on Chloe's cheeks, grounding them. You changed everything. Sophia was fire bright, consuming. But you? You're home. Steady deep. The kind of love that builds, not burns. Tears welled in green eyes, spilling over as she faced Sophia. I'm sorry I hurt you. Truly. But that chapter closed when I chose this life with her. Sophia's facade cracked, obsidian eyes glistening. You always were the dreamer. Fine. Keep your illusions. She gathered her things, pausing at the door, voice softening to something human, wounded, not weaponized. Be happy, Kentucky. You deserve it. The door clicked shut, a period on the past. In the aftermath, they collapsed onto the couch, entwined, sobs mingling with sighs. I thought I'd lost you, Chloe confessed, head on Kennedy's shoulder, the scent of her shampoo, lavender and earth, a balm. Never, Kennedy murmured, fingers weaving through black waves. We're real. Messy but real. The climax broke like the storm's end, sunlight slanting through shutters, illuminating dust motes like possibilities. Spring unfurled in Seville's embrace. Azahar blossoms perfuming the air, their love blooming unchecked. The office adapted, promotions flowing as colleagues' whispers turned to support. A pride flag in the break room, invitations to joint projects. Chloe's parents visited, tentative at first, thawing over Kennedy's empanadas and stories of Guadalquivir sunrises. Kennedy's family sent a gallery contact in Madrid, a bridge across distances. They stayed, roots deepening in Andalusian soil. Wedding vows exchanged in a quiet civil ceremony at the Alcazar. Rings, simple gold bands etched with sin arrepentimientos. No regrets. Life wove humanistic threads. Mentoring young expats, volunteering at a local LGBTQ center, where flamenco classes doubled as safe spaces. Betrayal's scar faded to a reminder that love, like Seville's tiled mosaics, is pieced from shards, beautiful in imperfection. Years later, on a balcony much like their first, with a child adopted from a Brooklyn orphanage giggling between them, Chloe leaned into Kennedy, watching fireworks burst over the Giralda. One drunken night, she mused, and we got forever. Kennedy kissed her temple, green eyes eternal. Best confession ever. In the city's heartbeat they thrived, not flawless but whole.